Hey everyone, hopefully you are viewing this on Thursday, April 16th, I believe. You should have already watched the video on metaphors and read this poem called Sun Tracks, which is a traditional Choctaw poem. Now, before we get into this, I wanted to take a look at this section right here where my cursor is. This gives us a little information on who the Choctaw people are. And a lot of the times we can tell a lot about a group of people based on their stories and their poetry. So let's take a look here together. About the Choctaw. The Choctaw are Native Americans originally from the southeastern United States. They were once part of what white settlers called the Five Civilized Tribes, a group of Native Americans who adopted practices of the European settlers. They lived in towns with tribal governments. The women farmed and the men hunted. They were the first tribes forced to leave their lands by a law known as the Indian Removal Act in 1830. Oh, I'm just going to stop and make a connection. That's so sad that this group of people was forced to leave their homes. Now, the three federally recognized Choctaw tribes are in Oklahoma, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So there's a little background on who the Choctaw people are. Now back to our focus, which is the poem Sun Tracks, a traditional Choctaw poem. Before we get started looking at figurative language and metaphor, I want you to take a moment to just listen. Hopefully you've already done this, but here's another chance. Close your eyes and just take a listen as I read this traditional Choctaw poem. The track of the sun across the sky leaves its shining message, illuminating, strengthening, warming us who we are, showing us we are not alone. We are yet alive, and this fire, our fire, shall not die. Wow. I got positive vibes as I was reading that. So now I'm going to stop and I'm going to reread this again. And as I read, I'm going to be on the lookout for a comparison between two unlike things. I'm looking for a metaphor. So I'm looking for the text to say that this thing is another thing. Not that it's like it. It is another thing. So, the track of the sun across the sky leaves its shining message. Now, I'm noticing something here. In the beginning of this poem, I see that sun tracks, or the track of the sun, which I'm thinking is sunlight, is compared to a shining message. The track of the sun, or sunlight, across the sky leaves its shining message. I'm going to underline those words because I'm seeing that the sun and sunlight is being compared to a shining message, whatever that means. We'll get to that in a moment. I'm going to annotate by taking my pen tool and underlining. Track of the sun leaves its shining message. Okay. Now, to understand what this means, the metaphor of saying the sunlight is a shining message, I need to think, what does this metaphor make me think about? Now, I know a message, when it says a shining message, I know a message sends information or is a way to communicate. I'll write myself a note. Message equals a way to send information or communicate. So I know that's what a message means. And then I see the word shining, a shining message. I also saw the words illuminating. I know that means making something really bright and pretty, and strengthening and warming, making something, nice and inviting. And when I think warming, I think peaceful. So I'm going to make myself another note based on the word shining. I know that shining is, it's a positive word. It's a happy word. So I'm going to use this information. The track of the sun across the sky leaves its shining message. And my thoughts right here to come to a conclusion. I think that the poet is saying that the sun or sunlight is a happy or positive message for the Choctaw people. This makes me think that maybe sunlight has a way of communicating with the Choctaw people in a special way. Maybe the Choctaw people really value sunlight and see it as a very positive, peaceful thing. So once again, I'm going to write myself a little note. This is how I'm annotating. Oh, this one, I want that one to stay green. Stay pink. We'll do another one. Get a note, and I'll put it right up here. Maybe I will. Okay, I guess that one will be pink as well. So I'm going to say the metaphor comparing sunlight to a shining message means that sunlight is a valued and positive / happy thing for the Choctaw people. Maybe the sunlight communicates with the Choctaw in a special way. I can go back and fix my errors. Now this makes sense to me based on my previous knowledge of Native American people. I know that many Native American groups take inanimate objects, that means things that aren't alive, nature things, and they view them as very powerful, influential, and spiritual. So maybe the Choctaw views sun and sunlights that way. So to conclude, and I just looked at this first part right up here, it seems that this metaphor, comparing sunlight to a shining message, tells me that the Choctaw have a special relationship with the sun. Now it's going to be your turn to look at metaphor in poetry.